Hello everyone and good evening. Thank you for joining us for the second session of professional development course. I can see quite a few people today and we hope that we'll be able to do a lot of work that we left last time. Before I proceed, I just wanted to check if everyone can hear me. Please raise your hands if you can hear me clearly. Okay, great. Everyone can hear me, so I guess we can start off where we had left. I remember having a uh, personal goal of writing 5 pages of a story. I and I remember Shuchita uh, informing me that she had completed 5 pages as well. Shuchita, you had asked me about whether I had completed my work or not. But I think instead of writing the story, I started writing the blogs, which I've been delaying for a long time. I wrote 2 blog pieces. They are still in the draft mode, but I guess I will be able to do to finish off the blogs very soon. Thank you so much for reminding. Actually, let me. Uh, okay, I'm just lowering all hands in case you have anything to say about the last session or anything that you want to add. Please raise your hand and I can pass on the speaking rights to you. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the presentation. This particular session has actually been a good learning session for me as well, in the sense that time management is something that you need to consciously do again and again to balance your work and personal life. So, it's been a very nice journey till now, and I'm hoping that as we go along, there'll be a lot of new things that we'll all learn together. Let me just move on to the today's agenda. Basically, we will try to learn how to manage your to-do lists. We will try to also define our goals very clearly. There are certain tools, certain things that I'm sure you would have come across, like the SMART goals acronym. We'll learn how to be very, very specific in our goal statements. We will also learn how to use a particular tool that is used in goal setting and vision exercises and strategy exercises. That is called the Balanced Scorecard. And we will see how we can use a balanced scorecard in the case of educational institutions like schools and colleges. I can see some people are still joining in. Welcome, Preeti. We've just begun the session, so you haven't really missed much. So let's start with the next. I would want you to open this, the references website that I've mentioned. Maybe you can open this in another window while we are talking. This is tinyurl.com/WP course. You would see a lot of the relevant presentations, relevant documents that I've uploaded. And this is open to everyone with this link. So, there is a very nice presentation. In fact, I've borrowed some part of it by Randy Pausch, who was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. It is also available at randypausch.com. You might have heard of this lecture by him called The Last Lecture. It's a very famous lecture, and you'll see very, very insightful things from Randy Pausch on his website. There is another presentation, another document that I would like to show you, which is the Big Hairy Audacious Goals. This is also there on that same link that I have prescribed. BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious Goal. There is a nice presentation by Isabel Hamid Jojo. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but this is There's a very nice presentation, and I'm sure you can see some bit of it here. But I would leave that for now. You can see it later at your own convenience. So I have given you one link. Let me just go back to that presentation and the link. tinyurl.com/WP course. Okay, so you can see this. You can visit this website. There will be some documents that are available, and you can actually edit or put in more documents in that folder as well, so that other people will also see it. In case you have any document or anything that you want to share with others that relates to time management, you can please put in those documents in this folder. This is an open public folder that you can access anytime. I think you would need to have a Google ID to access it in case you want to edit it. If you just want to see it, there is no need for a ID. But if you want to edit it, if you want to put in more and more documents, you will have to edit it. Has anyone actually visited the site? Are you able to see it? Please raise your hands in case you're able to see those documents. I hope everyone is able to see those documents. Okay, I've got a couple of raised hands. Ganesh says he is able to see it, so I'm assuming that it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so let's move on. In fact, there are other links as well. This particular presentation as well, I will put on the same folder once we are through with the presentation. So let's move on. We had left at a point where last time. Let me just go back. Sorry. Where we had left was. Yeah. So we were actually here. We had done a small exercise. We had said, how do we detail a plan? And obviously, detailing a plan means, you can have a 1-year plan, then you can have a 6-month plan, 30 days plan, 7 days, and finally we arrived at a next day's plan. And this is how planning should happen. Unless you plan it so meticulously, this will not happen. This session, of course, is meant for teachers like you and me, who also get in touch with students, so that we can influence the students as well, so that they are ready for the professional life later on. That is the whole point of having this kind of a session here for teachers. So let's move on for today's session. Okay, here we are. We are talking about planning. There are some catchy phrases here just to bring out the importance of planning exercise. Failing to plan is planning to fail. I mean, if you fail to plan something, it's as simple as planning any event. I'm sure you've been planning events on a personal level, like planning a marriage, which is a short-term event, or it could be planning, your future, your children's future, and so on. So there are a lot of things that you plan for in your life, but if you don't plan, then it's like you don't even know where you're heading. Plan each day, each week, each semester in a teacher's life. Semester is very important. Semester or the courses that we refer to. You can always change your plan, but only once you have one. I mean, unless you have a plan, you can't really change it. So these are some of the thoughts that go in favor of a planning activity, and planning is very critical in any context, be it personal, be it professional, on a corporate level or an individual level. So we all maintain things like to-do lists. We have things like where we write down small things, either stick it on the refrigerator or just to remind ourselves. We also use whiteboards to to make sure that we don't forget, and we plan out our day. In fact, I should show you a very nice whiteboard usage by my daughters, who are just 11 years and 5 years old. 12 and 5 years actually. And one fine day I told them, why don't you use the whiteboard? They were very excited about using the whiteboard. And I told them, why don't you use the whiteboard on the Sunday morning and plan out the entire day for yourself? So they were very excited, and they actually wrote down everything, right from the time to take a bath, to do homework, to play, to watch TV, or play on an iPad, and so on. So they had planned the entire day, and by the end of the day, they were so proud of that achievement, because they said that they planned the entire day. They were able to stick to it. Um and when they were able to stick to it, they also made sure that they could prioritize stuff. So in fact, there were times which were allotted to television, which were dumped in favor of doing the homework complete. So that is the importance of a to-do list. Even a child understands how critical it is to prioritize your things that you want to do. So breaking things down into small steps, it's very easy to say, I want to, for a teacher, for instance, uh, a visionary statement or a goal statement could be that I want to make sure that I prepare for all my sessions at least 2 days in advance. Now that is a very nice statement to make, but unless you break it up into small steps, which means that if you want to finish preparing for it 2 days in advance, so what is T minus 5 day? I mean, what do you do 5 days before the class? What do you do 10 days before the class, and so on? It's like a child cleaning his or her room. When you see a child cleaning his or her room, which is quite rare in most cases. But if you see a child cleaning the room, you would find that he or she would pick up small things one by one, clean a corner, and then go on to the next one, clean the bed, and then move on to the almirah, and so on. Do the ugliest things first. Basically, if you relegate the ugliest thing, the most difficult task, for the end, you are actually planning for failure again. Because obviously, by the end of the session, by the end of the day, you would feel you're not really, you don't really have much time left to finish off the, long task, or maybe something that you don't like. I remember when I was in school, if I had to prepare for an exam the next day, if I left the hardest topic to the end, it would never happen. I'm sure things like these would have happened with you as well. So that's one very practical learning from our own childhood. We must make sure that all the difficult things are done first. It's like when you're eating, you want to finish off. You want to make sure that the favorite part of your food is taken at the end. It's not taken in the beginning. So possibly that's why you take sweet dishes towards the end of the meal. Uh, so doing the hardest things first makes sure that you have enough time to do the easy ones, or when you like something, you obviously find out time to do it as well. This is a very popular tool to manage your to-do list. I would want to spend some time here on this one. How many of you know this quadrant stuff? Please raise your hand if you're, and I'll be really happy if you can explain this as well. Do you think you can explain this? Taking some examples. Please raise your hand in case you want to, or let's do it one by one. For instance, on the vertical axis, you can see that there is an important and not important task list. So something that is important and something that is not important. On the horizontal axis, you have the due soon and not due soon, which is urgent and not urgent, right? So these basically form the 4 quadrants. Let's take them one by one. How about the important and due soon? What kind of tasks are important as well as urgent? Can somebody give an example? Please raise your hand if you If you have any example of this sort, okay, I'll pass it on to Sapna. Yes, Sapna.
It's like seeing a doctor for some medical emergency.
Absolutely, absolutely. Perfect. Anything from your teaching experience?
Yeah, like planning an assessment worksheet, which is inevitable by the end of any topic.
Okay, okay. So basically, once you finish off one topic or a session, you have to plan an assessment, and that is urgent. That's also important. Very good, very good. Thank you. Let's move on. Let's see if somebody else can give an example. Is there anyone else who can give an example? Okay, Ganesh. Let me. Yes, Ganesh. Any example that comes to your mind?
Yeah, like filling up the registration forms or examination forms before the due date.
Okay, right, right, right. Absolutely. So, for instance, you have a class 10 batch and you must fill up the roll, you know, there is a register that you need to fill up to make sure that the board accepts it in time and so on. So, there is something that is very urgent and it's very, very important. Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Okay, so how about quadrant 3? Not important, but urgent. Any examples? Not important, but urgent. I'm talking about quadrant 3. So what do you think about quadrant 3? Not important, but urgent. Any examples? I can see one raised hand by Swapna. Let's see if she has any examples. Yes, Swapna.
I think in my school we have to prepare this e-newsletters for every month, which is not, I think it falls in the quarter 4, which is not urgent, but sorry, which is in quarter 2, I think. For 3, I'm not able to figure out any example yet.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I can understand. Quadrant 2, that example is perfect for quadrant 2. Let me see if somebody has an example for 3. Shuchita, do you have an example for quadrant 3?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Example for 3 is that going to attend the farewell party in the college.
Okay. Right, right, right. Absolutely. I mean, it may not be important, although some people might debate whether it is important or not, because networking is also important part of your life. But yes, yes,
no,
that's
but
a very good example.
sometimes it is like it is due. It is on the like Saturday, coming Saturday. So
Right.
if I have some other work also, so it is not important.
Okay. How about attending phone calls? You know, if you're in a meeting or you're doing your own work, but there is a phone call, you know, and you don't know whether it is important or not. Somebody, a telecaller
Yeah,
might just call up, but you have to pick that phone, right?
yeah, that's also right.
Perfect. Okay. Very nice. Okay. All right. So let's move on to quadrant 4. Any examples for quadrant 4? Not important, not due soon. Not important, not urgent. This is like the worst activity that you can do. Any of you who, those of you who don't have a microphone, you can also use the questions module. I can see Ganesh does not have Ganesh Kumar Natarajan. I don't think you have a microphone with you because I can't see the symbol here. So in case you have any examples, you can feel free to post it on the questions panel, and we can share it with other people. All right, I can see one raised hand again from Suchita about the quadrant 4, the useless activity and not urgent as well. Yes, Suchita.
Sir, actually, I haven't raised the hand.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I haven't raised the hand, but
Okay.
I'm just thinking over it.
All right, all right, all right.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? This I think our life is full of activities that fall in quadrant 4. It's full of it. I think I just gave you examples of one example of my daughter's to-do list. Okay, Ganesh. Yes.
writing lesson plan for the lesson which we are scheduled to take after 1 month or say next month or 2 months.
So that is not important?
Yeah.
Okay.
It means
That's
not
interesting.
important, not urgent at the moment.
I thought that is a very classic quadrant 2 example. It's important, it's extremely important that you do it before it becomes urgent. You know, you need to plan it out so that it becomes urgent. Not important and not urgent, Ganesh, is something like watching television, or you know, or maybe if you're addicted to Facebook or Orkut or things like that. You know, I mean, going on Facebook is not important, it's not urgent, but you end up spending hours on it. I mean, especially our young generation who may not understand, you know, the importance of their time. So they may end up spending a lot of time on Facebook or things like these. Am I right? Am I right, Ganesh?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So quadrant 4 is in fact full of activities like these, which are not urgent, not important, but we still end up doing a lot of quadrant 4 activities. So obviously I kept quadrant 2 at the end because quadrant 2 is the most important and not due soon. You know, imagine having an assignment. I am going to give you an assignment today, and suppose that deadline is 10th of November, which is correct. I mean, 10th of November is your assignment deadline. Now, if you don't plan it properly, you know, and you keep lingering on it, and suddenly on 8th of November you wake up and say, oh my God, the assignment was due in 2 days. So obviously now that activity which is important but not urgent has now become important as well as urgent. So what happens is on 9th of November, if you have your wife's birthday or your children's birthday, you ruin that day for your family because there is something that has come into quadrant 1 from quadrant 2. You had plenty of time, but you couldn't really plan it out properly, and now it has become a quadrant 1 activity. So the whole point of planning your to-do list is making sure that your quadrant 2 is managed very well. In fact, if I were to put it the right way, I would say the quadrant 2 should be the maximum area in all these 4 quadrants. 4 obviously has to be the minimal. It's not that you should not go to Facebook or play or something like that, but it's important to make sure that your quadrant 2 is well planned and full of activities. So I hope everyone understands the quadrant 2 paradigm. We call it the quadrant 2 paradigm. Now here are the examples that would obviously make more sense to you. So quadrant 1, we said important and urgent. So quadrant 1 is something that is crisis. You know, it's always crisis. It's always meetings. There are deadlines. So obviously when you're close to a deadline, it becomes a quadrant 1 activity. You can't skip it. You know, there are pressing problems. In case of teachers' lives, I'm sure there are a lot of things that fall into quadrant 1. If you are a person who is always doing work all the time, then your quadrant 1 is full of activities. The problem is that quadrant 1 activities were actually quadrant 2 for a long time, but then because we delayed those activities for such a long time, they actually fell into quadrant 1. So that is the whole point here. Quadrant 2 activities, important but not urgent. That I'm sure once you realize that there are planning, preparation, you know, clarification about any doubts. So values clarification is an important thing. So basically, if you are working in an organization and you have some queries about how the organization runs, what are the values that it carries, it becomes easier for you to take decisions, quick decisions. But if you're not clear, then this again becomes a quadrant 1 activity, right? Because you don't know whether this decision is correct or not. You keep on delaying it because you're not clear, and you don't ask someone, and then ultimately it becomes a quadrant 1 activity. Relationship building is a very important, not urgent. You know, basically, I remember talking to a friend who had stayed in the US for quite some time, and he was sharing his experiences in the US, and he was saying that there were a couple of people whom he knew. They had in their diaries, they had noted the exact date and time of calling their parents. So they're so methodical to make sure that relationship building happens. So, for instance, if I am staying at my home and I have parents in another city, the older parents in another city, I must make sure that there is a time allotted to the calling, because otherwise, what might happen is your parents might feel neglected. They might think that our children don't even remember us, whereas this is not true. Absolutely. So at least you schedule some time. Maybe every Sunday you say every Sunday at 11 a.m. I'm going to call my parents. Of course, it's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable if you also call them on other days, but at least once a week you have allotted that time. True recreation. There is something called true recreation. There is, of course, Facebooking is probably recreation, but may not be true recreation. By true recreation, we mean there could be some value add as well. So true recreation could mean reading some kind of biographies which are going to benefit your personality. True recreation could also mean playing a certain game which is going to improve your health, and so on, right? Q3, the quarter 3, non-important yet urgent. Non-important yet urgent. Phone calls, I told you. There are some mails which keep coming in and you need to respond to them. There may be some reports that you need to present. They're not important, but they are urgent. You have to make reports. I'm sure a lot of you who are working in institutional domains, schools, colleges, offices, you've come across reports which you need to make. You don't know why these reports are being made, who is reading them, and so on. But there are reports to be sent. That's it. So sometimes organizations behave like this. They have some reports which nobody knows the use of, but they still want reports. Okay. Of course, Q4, the most useless activity, time wasters as they call them, escape activities. Escape activities is like you want to escape from all the work that is given there. You want to sleep. Maybe some phone calls which are not important. They're not urgent, but you still keep on talking. Chit-chatting, as they say, right? Irrelevant mails are those spam mails that keep landing in your folders every now and then, and you still want to read them. There is nothing that obviously that interests you, but you still want to read them, and it lands them in Q4. So Q2 paradigm basically says that your Q2 has to be the maximum. All your tasks, all your lists. So to-do list is a very nice example of deploying the Q2 paradigm. Every day before you sleep, I mean, this is age old. Everyone keeps telling you about this. Every day before you sleep, you make a list of all the things that you need to do the next day, and out of them, just mark all of them which are Q2. So that way, you at least have a Q2 in sight. So something that is not urgent, but it is important. Suppose your wedding anniversary is coming up, and suddenly on the day before the wedding anniversary, you wake up and you want to buy some gift or plan the day out. So it becomes a Q1 activity. Instead of that, if you had planned for it a month in advance, you would have got the tickets. You would have got the tickets in a reasonable rate as well, and so on. So it becomes very easy. It becomes an easy life once you do that. All right, so let's move on. There's a small Dilbert cartoon here, which I found very interesting. I'm sure most of you know what this cartoon is all about. Dilbert. Dilbert is a typical office guy, and here you have one office person talking about bureaucratic gridlock is caused by people with different priorities who practice good time management. They're very complex things. Now he says, did you get the information I need for my important project? No, it's not in my top 1,000 priorities. He's kidding about that. And then he asked the person, did you bring the information I requested for my important project? So obviously the obvious answer is no, because your project doesn't matter to me. So then, time management, basically time management classes have the intention that they should free up a lot of time. So free up a lot of time, meaning you should get a lot of time for yourself if you're doing proper time planning, time management, right? All right, let's move on. These are again gems that I picked up from Randy Pausch's presentation. You can always go back to the presentation again. Paperwork on your table, on your table or in your desktop. Paperwork is something that kills our time. There is a lot of paperwork on your desk. There's a lot of papers crowded, and you don't know what to do with it. So you should have some kind of good file system. So if you have a file cover, a few file covers that, again, a very practical way of doing it is, if you have a bunch of papers, you can actually name your files as Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, and then put those papers in those files or trays that you have. The third point is very critical. We end up touching one same piece of paper, same email every now and then, because we don't decide it now then and there. What happens is, if you have a piece of notice coming up to you and you don't know what to do with it, you again put this in the to-do list. So it again crops up next day, and so on. So it's important that you touch each piece of paper only once, just once, and finish it off. That's the critical point. Similarly, touch the emails that you get. Just do that just once. It's not your to-do list. Your inbox is just a stupid mix-up of Q4, Q1, Q2, and Q3, all of them together. So you should not make your inbox as a to-do list. All right, so let's move on to defining goals. We had done a small exercise last time about defining goals for the next year. Now, there are several paradigms that they have. I had shown you one presentation that said BHAG, BHAG, BHAG goals. You can actually go through the file attachment later. But there is another paradigm called SMART goals, and let's see what these SMART stand for. So S is specific. Unless you're very specific about your goal, you will never be able to achieve it. Specific means what? It should be able to answer things like who, what, where, when, which, why. I mean, these are the 6 W's that you need to answer for your goal. So unless you, for instance, let's take an example of a typical classroom situation. If you tell your students, they need to make a homework, they need to submit a homework. Now, submit a homework is not specific. Obviously, you need to answer what. The students are going to ask you, what is that homework? Then you need to also identify, when do I need to submit? When do I need to submit? If you don't keep a when, there's no point in asking somebody to do that job, and so on. I mean, you should be very specific about why do I need to do that work. If you can answer this question, why, I think most of your time management, most of the things that you've been planning will come across. Right. Now let's move on to M. M is measurable. Okay, so the goal result has to be measurable. How much? How many? How will I know when it is accomplished? So measurable is very important, because as they say, something that you can't measure, you can't manage. Unless you are able to measure something, you can't really manage. So let's take an example. Suppose you have a lesson plan in mind that you need to prepare for your class. So unless you know the measurable quantity of the lesson plans, unless you know how many lesson plans you need to make, unless you know which topics have to be covered, how many topics have to be covered, unless you know that, you wouldn't be able to make a proper goal for yourself. And this thing also holds true for life's general goals. I mean, if you're planning your career, if you're planning your future, and you're saying, I want to be rich. Now, how rich is very critical. Rich can be somebody who earns 10,000 rupees a month, and rich can also be the other end of the spectrum, like Anil Ambani, who who has mansions, but if I want to be rich, how rich do I want to be? And that is very critical to define a proper goal. Let's move on. We will do a small exercise after this so that you can actually figure it out. A is action oriented. Is there some kind of action that is required to do that goal? So wise goal, what it says is it has to be a wise goal. It can't be a, I should not use the word stupid, but at least it should be saying what will I do? What will I do to achieve that goal? And a very helpful thing is you describe the result rather than the process. So for instance, if I were to say, I want to be the best teacher in my school. Now, being the best teacher is a very vague statement. So you need to define the criteria, and you need to define what will you do to become the best teacher. What exactly would you do? So unless you know who is a good teacher, what defines a good teacher, or better teacher, or best teacher, you won't be able to define what actions you need to take. So actions for a best teacher would obviously be things like I would be ready with my lesson plans 5 days in advance and so on, right? Let's move on to the next one, which is R, that is realistic and relevant. Now, having a goal like, for instance, if I were to say my goal is to make the biggest terrorist organization in the world, obviously that's not relevant. I mean, it may be realistic, it may be realistic, but it's not relevant. It's not relevant meaning it's not socially relevant. There has to be something that has some purpose to it. Are you willing to do it? Are you able to do it? There are some times, for instance, if I said, I want to grow hair on my head, from a bald person, this is a really absurd goal, right? Am I willing to do it? Yes, of course I'm willing to do it, but will I be able to do it? I mean, there are technologies that make it happen, but is that a relevant goal? Do I really want to do it? Or is it just a fad, right? So higher goal is better than a low goal. You can't set a very low goal. You can't set goals like, I would be present in all my classes, or let's say I would be present in 10% of my classes in time. That's a very low goal. I would rather make it I would be present in time for 90% of my classes. That's like a higher goal. And of course, is it relevant to your work, your ultimate goal in life, right? So these are the relevant and realistic checks for a SMART goal. And finally, it has to be tangible. I'm sure all of you know what is tangible. Tangible is something that you can touch, you can feel, you can, with one of your senses. Can you sense it? Can you feel it? If it's not tangible, it becomes very difficult. It becomes very, I can say I want to be the most honest person on the earth, but if that's not tangible, how do I define honesty, right? So I need to know what exactly does honesty mean, and how do I make it tangible, right? Now this is how I'm sure all of you would know this. So let's just visit the this particular link that I've shown here. In fact, you can move to WP course. Let me just move on to that. Okay, so I have opened this this document here. In WP goals directory, you would see that there is SMART goals exercise, which is shared with everyone. All of us can write on it. Can you see that that file on your screen? Please move to tinyurl.com/WP course. Okay. Please raise your hand if you're able to see this file. There's a file called examples of goals that are not SMART. Okay, I can see a lot of raised hands. All right, why don't you just put in your own examples of goals that are not specific, and what would make it specific, make them specific. Okay, I'll give you about 5 minutes to do this. Please start putting in whatever comes to your mind. All right. I can see one raised hand. Preeti, do you want to say something, Preeti? Preeti, your microphone is activated. Do you want to say something about this? Preeti, can you hear me? I can see somebody writing there. You can write simultaneously. All of you can write simultaneously. That's the best part about Google Documents. You can actually write simultaneously. We can all do the work together. So it says specific to become a principal in next 2 years. Not specific, of course. Let me fill that up. To become the most senior teacher in the city. So that is not specific. Obviously, it doesn't make sense, right? Okay. Anything else? You can also actually this could also be in the time, time based, the last one, because you've defined that this is next 2 years, right? I hope all of you can see this this spreadsheet. All of you are able to work on it. I can see that there are two other people who are using the spreadsheet. I don't know others why you're not able to see the. Are all of you on the spreadsheet on the document? Is there any problem in accessing the document? Please raise your hands. Please raise your hand if you're able to work on the document. How many of you are there on the document right now? Shuchita is there. Who else is there on the document? I can see 2 hands there. Okay, Ganesh is also there. What about the others? Preeti, Shivani, Swapna, and so many others. Is there some problem in accessing it? Can you just write one each? Maybe maybe I should be more specific in saying that as well. Maybe I should assign one table to each person, or maybe you can. This says it cannot save the changes. Oh, okay. You don't have to save the changes. I'm able to write, but not able to save the writing. You don't have to save the writing. Swapna is complaining that she's not able to save it. You don't have to save anything. It's just visible all the time, and I think it saves automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Shivani says that she is doing it on paper. Shuchita is saying I'm not able to write on it. Is there some problem? Okay. Shuchita, is there some problem? You're not able to write on it?
Sir, I'm not able to. Yeah, I'm not able to write because I'm not finding the cursor on it. Because I'm writing on diary only.
I see. Okay. In that case, maybe I can, if you can write it on the questions, or just dictate to me, I'll write it for you. Shivani as well. You can use the questions and I can copy paste it on this sheet if you want. Okay, there is somebody has written to speak in English only, always in the school. I mean, speak in English only. Who has written this? Can you raise your hand? The person who has written, I think Ganesh. Yeah. Okay. Ganesh, did you write this? Shuchita, you can actually dictate if you want to. Okay. Ganesh had written this. Very nice. Measurable. Yes, it is measurable. You to speak in English only, always in the school. It is measurable in the sense that, of course, there is there is always a practical situation. You should always also make way for some errors. I mean, 100% is desirable, but may not be practical. Sometimes people say a few words in Hindi as well. Sometimes, so you may want to change it in a little bit and say that to speak in English, in all the classes except maybe Hindi, something like that. Or maybe you want to say as a principal, as a school principal, or as a student, I want to make sure that everyone speaks in Hindi all the time, speaks in English all the time, right? Okay. Okay, specific. Shuchita says to have a house of my own within 1 year. That's very specific. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, very good. And not specific would be to own a house. Sorry, to own a house. I hope you can all see that. I mean, I am also entering stuff here. Action oriented, all the classes that I will take should be, I think Ganesh is writing this. Is there anyone else who is trying to write? Maybe you can finish it off later as well, but I thought if we can write at least one in each one of them, that would be very good. Time based, of course, within 1 year, these are specific as well as it has a time. Do you think there is something tangible and non-tangible that you can give an example for? Is there any non-tangible and tangible example? Tangible, of course, is something that you can feel with one of your senses. You should be able to feel it, touch it, hear it or whatever. So is there something tangible and non-tangible? Any example? Anyone? Except the one that I had said, something like I want to be rich. That is not tangible. It does not have a proper figure to it, right? Is there anything else that comes to your mind for tangible, not tangible? I can see that someone has written under action oriented, someone has written all the classes that I will take should be technology suited. Okay. As per technology, okay. Wow, that is really good. Realistic, relevant, it says to be the best biology teacher. Now, it is realistic, it is relevant as well, relevant in the sense that if my subject is biology, it has to be relevant. It says to be the best biology teacher in my city or school. Now the only thing is it measurable? How do you measure this? Unless there is a survey in the entire city or the school about who is the best biology teacher, and then who do you ask? I mean, do you ask your students? Do you ask fellow teachers and so on? So best is slightly vague. I would say best has to be defined properly. So I'm just highlighting this here. Maybe you should revise this after a while. Just one example. I thought if you could get one example about tangible and non-tangible, I think that would be excellent. Any example that comes to your mind? Tangible, non-tangible. You can actually raise your hand and let me know in case you're not able to write. You just raise your hand and let me know. Tangible and non-tangible. Just one example, please. Not tangible to see my daughter at the top position. Okay. Why is it not tangible? I'm sure, rank number 1 is tangible enough, right? What exactly did you mean by that, Shuchita? I think it's quite tangible when I say to see my daughter in the top position. Let me write this down here. To see my in the top position. It is tangible, but there is a problem in being specific. It's not very specific. In the top position in what? So maybe you would want to write in chess, right? In chess tournament, or you may want to write rank 1 in TAS. Okay, so something like that. That becomes tangible. Okay, I can see that there is another entry. It says to see that I nil my home loan in next 6 years. Shuchita, is that you? I remember you talking about home loan. last time? Who has written this? Can you? Oh, Ganesh. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So I think the good part about using this sheet is that you can fill it up at your convenience, and we will keep building on the document. Okay. So this is a very this is a shared folder. You can always come back to the shared folder anytime whenever you have a new idea, so that other people can also learn from it. Okay. So let's move on. Okay, there is one tangible entry by Swapna. It says finishing a lesson plan in the decided time limit. Yes, absolutely. So let me just write this down here. Finishing a lesson plan in the decided time limit. Okay, that's quite tangible. Very good. All right, so let's move on. Let me go back to the presentation that we were on. So that was the exercise. Let's move on to the last topic of the day. I hope we have not crossed our time limits. I intentionally kept it a little delayed. We will keep it from 7 to 8:30. We'll try to finish off by 8:15 or so that we can discuss and then move on. Now this is something. Balanced scorecard is something that corporates use a lot, and this is a very important exercise in strategy, planning, visioning, and so on. These are all big words that HR, human resources managers use. So I thought it's important to see it in the light of educational setup. Okay. So what does balanced scorecard mean? Balanced scorecard means that you have your vision and strategy in the center, and you have the 4 things which are the critical functions in any business unit. There is your customer. In a school's case, of course, the customer is the student. Is there any other customer? Do you think there is any other customer that a school or a college caters to apart from the student? Anyone? You can raise your hand and talk. Who are the customers in a typical school or college situation? Okay, I can see Preeti. Preeti? I hope you have a microphone there. Maybe the microphone is muted. You can unmute it and then speak. Preeti? Or you can just write it on the questions panel. Ganesh has written that the students are customers. Is there any other customer that comes to your mind apart from students? That was the question. Is anyone else who has an answer to this? Preeti, I'm sure, has an answer, but unfortunately I can't hear her. Shivani, let's see if Shivani's microphone is working. Shivani, yes.
Sir, if we are talking about a college, then the companies who are coming to our college for the final placements, they are the customers, and our students are our products.
Absolutely. Very good, very good. Absolutely. Anyone else? Any other segment that we've missed out? Students and companies who come for placements? Absolutely. So in the similar context, if you think about a school, who is the customer apart from the student? You talked about companies in the college context. Is there something similar in a school? Do you think there is any other customer in a school or even a college? All right, anyone else? Anybody else who has an answer to this? I just lower all the hands. In case you have any other answer, please raise your hand, or you can write it in the questions panel. Swapna, okay. Over to you.
I think the prospect parents, the new ones who are coming for admissions.
Absolutely, very good, very good. Yeah. In fact, Swapna, there is, all the parents are customers. In fact, it's kind of a parallel to what Shivani said. Shivani had said companies who recruit the students, graduating students. In case of school or even in case of colleges, parents are also one set of customers, very important customers. I'm sure you've had your share of arguments or expectations from parents who have been who have their own views about education. So parents are definitely a big customer group. There is another customer group that we've actually not thought about yet, which is the society. The society expects some kind of delivery from a school or a college. So society is a very important customer for any educational institution. And if you look at the box here, it says customer. It says to achieve our vision, how should we appear to our customers? Now that question would actually give you hints about why society is so important. When you are a teacher or a principal in a school or a college, it's important how does the society, the general surroundings, how do they see the college? That is why a customer is so important. And we'll come back to other things as well. Let's look at financial. Okay, financial, it says to succeed financially, how should we appear to our shareholders? Now shareholders, again, in case of private schools and colleges, are the trustees of the society that is there. They are the shareholders. In case of a non-profit organization, there are a lot of non-profit organizations. In fact, everyone is supposed to be non-profit when it comes to education. But in case of non-profit educational setups, there are financial concerns. It's not that society is going to sustain a non-profit school for a long time. Non-profit does not mean that you don't earn money. You earn money, but you don't earn anything apart from anything extra from what you actually need. If your budget to operate a school is, let's say, 4 lakh rupees a month, that is what you need to earn. So it does not mean that a school or a college can survive on grants only. There has to be some sound financial model to sustain itself. The third one is internal business processes. So to satisfy our shareholders and customers, what business processes must we excel at? Now, who are the internal customers? There is something called internal customers. We talked about students, we talked about parents, society, we talked about companies in a college context as customers. Who are the internal customers? Can somebody tell me who are the internal customers in an educational setup? Anyone? Okay, a lot of raised hands. Shivani?
Sir, those people who are working with us in that school
Absolutely.
or that organization for that matter,
Absolutely.
they are the internal customers.
Very nice, very nice. In fact, I mean, broadly speaking, the teaching community and the non-teaching community. There is a teaching community which includes the teachers, professors, and so on, and there's a non-teaching community which constitutes the support staff, administrators, administration, clerks, and so on. Right? Absolutely, very nice,
Yes.
very nice. Okay, how about Shuchita? Do you have any other internal customer in mind?
Yes, sir, the same thing. I was also going to say the teachers and the non-teaching staff.
Right. Absolutely. Perfect. All right. So, it's important to have internal business processes to satisfy the internal customers. Business processes should be aimed at making sure that the internal customers are also satisfied. Because once the internal customers are satisfied, the things will fall in place so that you can help the external customers. Unless you have very satisfied teachers, very satisfied support staff in the school or college, how will you satisfy your customers? It becomes very difficult. Finally, there is a learning and growth factor that comes in place. It says to achieve our vision, how will we sustain our ability to change and improve? Now, this is very critical because in the changing scenario, when you see most of the students now come with their own mobile phones, which are very high-end mobile phones, maybe 3G enabled and so on, how does the institution, how does the teacher learn to cope up with this change? Are we still using the age-old methods of dictating a lesson, dictating from a textbook, or are we changing ourselves? And that is a very critical measure of sustainability. If you don't change with the changing times, it becomes very difficult to sustain. So in an organizational context, in a school and college context, this becomes very, very critical. Okay, so let's move on to a school or college situation. We've been talking about this. Let's just look at broadly how do we, you can see that there are boxes here. The first one, top one, is the financial perspective. Financial perspective obviously has things like how do you earn revenues. The third box here, it says expand revenue opportunities. You need to expand what kind of revenues you're going to earn. I'm sure you've heard of schools and colleges giving up their campuses for social events. So that is one revenue opportunity. There are schools nowadays who also use the building for to run out of school classes, after school classes. That is another revenue opportunity, and so on. There is improved cost structure. It says, how do I reduce my costs? So obviously, if I'm using a lot of paper in the for instance, if I'm using a lot of paper unnecessarily, I may want to switch to a purely soft copy model. So these are the productive strategies. Productive strategies involve reducing cost, increase asset utilization. I told you about asset utilization, meaning if you have a school which is free after the morning session, maybe you can use another shift. So that becomes a better asset utilization. Growth strategies involve expanding revenue opportunities, exploring how else can I earn some more money, and of course enhancing stakeholder value opportunities. Value opportunities meaning the stakeholders are the trustees of the organization. Is there some way of making their stakes more valuable? Okay. So stakeholder perspective is expanded at the in the second box, the bottom. It says, how do I increase stakeholder value? Okay, so I can increase it by increasing my price, which means I can increase the fees of the students. I can increase quality. That again ensures that the school or college is perceived as a better school or college. I can enter into valuable partnerships with other companies, other entities. I can do community service. I can tie up with a blind school in my vicinity and do a lot of community service. And of course, development. Development basically means I can develop my infrastructure. I can develop my human intellect to make sure that the school is progressive, right? So moving on, the internal perspective. We had been talking about internal customers, and this is a very important point about internal customer satisfaction. You must have teaching excellence. I mean, you need to set up processes so that you can achieve teaching excellence. You need to achieve curriculum excellence as well, so that other people, other society members, other schools, colleges can also benefit from your innovation, right? Quality of faculty has to be improved so that you can have lot of, I'm sure most of you have come across training programs for teachers every now and then that enable teachers to actually improve. And then of course there is an efficiency and effectiveness of service. I'm sure all of you have come across instances where even though the school teachers and everyone is delivering very well, there are problems which come in delivery of services, the allied services like the bus service or the food service and so on. So, overall things have to improve in that sense, right? And finally, the learning and growth perspective. We talked about how do you improve skills, how do you improve training, how do you make sure that the teachers are well trained, they are constantly improving their knowledge. There is an information capital. So obviously you need to have databases, you need to have libraries where students and teachers can refer to journals, magazines from across the world. Nowadays it's very easy, of course, to build these databases because of the internet. Organizational capital. Organizational capital meaning, do you have people ready to take on senior jobs? Do you have people ready to take on the job of a principal? If the principal retires, do you have people who will be good enough to take on those kind of roles, right? So this is how you can deploy BSc in a school or college. Okay. So just to sum it up, this is your assignment. Please go through the bullet points that are mentioned here. Again, I'm assuming that all of us are matured learners and we'll keep our timelines. What you need to do is you need to make 3 SMART goals for your next year. Okay. If you do it seriously, I'm sure you'll make a lot of progress in the year 2013, right? If you can identify 3 SMART goals for the next year, please convert those goals into actionable. When I say SMART goals, they have to be following all those acronyms that we had mentioned, SMART. So you need to break it down into 6 months, and weekly plan. Try to do it once, even if you are able to do it with one goal of your life for the next 1 year, I think it will give you a lot of satisfaction. You need to complete the balanced scorecard template for an institution. If you visit that folder again, I'll just show you. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I've just opened the folder here. There is one balanced scorecard template, okay? So which I've already opened on my desktop. You can open this. You can see that this is the kind of PDF that will be available, okay? All right, I can see that everyone can see this this template. It says balanced scorecard planning template. What is my school's vision of the future? It just says school. It can be equally effective for a college. It can be equally effective for a coaching institution, private coaching tuition center. Okay. You can actually do this exercise with other colleagues in your school or college, so that everyone is engaged in this. So what is my school's vision? That I'm sure every school has a vision statement defined. If the vision succeeds, how will my school differ? Which is basically trying to define the result. If I succeed, how will my life be different for my school, for my teachers, for my students, for my parents, and to my community? So you need to fill up the boxes that are given underneath. It says what are the critical success factors, which means how do you measure them? So every goal has to be measurable. For instance, let's talk about to my students, which is very easy. Academic achievement measurement is very easy. You have your school results, board results, and so on, right? Let's talk about something else. Maybe to my community, school performance. Now, how do I measure? How do I measure whether I was successful or not? School performance to my community. We talked about social work. We talked about. So can we set a goal which says I want all my students to visit the blind school this year? That's a tangible goal. It's also measurable, right? And at the end of the year, if I can measure how many actually visited, maybe 80% visited. So that's my result. Okay. And then it says what are the critical measurements. So if I say my students should visit the blind school in the vicinity, then what are the critical measurements? The measurements are how many students actually visited, and not just visited. Is there something beyond just visiting? Okay. So these are the kind of things that I want you to fill up for your school or college. It would be a good exercise if you could actually do it with other colleagues, maybe the head of your institution and so on. This is a very popular tool that is used in corporate life, but you can also use it in an educational setup, just to bring in more professionalism in the setup. Okay, so that's about it. I think let me just go back to the presentation. Complete the balanced scorecard template for your institution. Upload all your documents. There are these one document for the SMART goals, one document for the balanced scorecard template. Please upload that on the same folder, tinyurl.com/WP course, and the deadline for you is November 10. Okay, so I would expect all of you to actually finish off this particular assignment much early than November 10th. Internally, maybe you want to set the deadline as maybe on November 5 or 6. Okay, so that's about it. I hope we were able to learn something from today's session. If you have any questions, anything, please raise your hand, and I'll be glad to answer. Any questions or any comments? is there anything that that comes to your mind so that we can improve the course? Swapna says, can you please mail the SMART goal guidelines for revisiting? I mean the contents of those slides. Swapna, what we'll do is I will upload this presentation exactly as it is, as you're seeing here. I'll upload this in the same folder. You can always see that at your convenience. All right. We have just been on time. I think 7 to 8:30 was my schedule, but I think we finished by 8:15 as well. So I know it was quite a theoretical session. It was quite a monologue for a long time, but the assignment will make it beneficial. Thank you, Shivani, for the compliments. Is there any question, anything that you want to clarify? Here is my contact. You can contact me at anirudh@beyondteaching.com. If you have any questions, anything, you can please feel free to ask. I just expect from matured learners like yourselves, I would expect that you would do your assignment in time. And if there is any reason for not doing it, please inform me beforehand. I would appreciate if each one of you can send me an email on this to confirm whether you'll be able to do it in time or not. If there is any delay, any expected reason, there is a festive season, I know, so there may be a delay or something. But please inform me beforehand, like a responsible learner. Okay. Thank you so much for attending. I enjoyed the session thoroughly. I'll send you a mail about the next session as well. When will it happen? I'm sure we'll have it after the Diwali and after the festive season. So I must wish you all a very, very happy festive season. Any support from my side in doing the assignment or anything, please let me know. Wish you a very, very happy Diwali, all of you. Thank you so much for your time. Goodbye. I will be logging off after all of you have logged off. I'll just wait for all of you to log off from the session, and then I'll log off as well. Thank you. Good night.